And we're live. What the heck is up? Commitment watch. It's a watch party. We are having a party. Mother freaking people.
Woo!
With a special guest, Mr. First Crystal Ball himself, Brendan Simone. Oh, he's giving a cheer for those who are listening, not watching. He's giving a round of applause for himself because he is quite proud. You were so all right. Let's give a little backstory here. You were the first Blake Nicholson crystal ball, correct?
That is correct. Yes. Sorry for doing something physically on an audio medium for those listening on the podcast. It's amateur hour in the Sedone household.
We have the live stream that we can just play alongside here while this goes on. Do we have that?
Kev?
I can pull it up.
Yeah, we're live streaming the Blake Nicholson commitment ceremony, which is on CBS Sports. And
yes, please go there or pull it up alongside. Make sure that it's getting its love also, if you can. That'd be greatly appreciated. I don't think this is probably going to come out in the pod version. I'm thinking this might just be YouTube only. Thank you to our friends from Facebook that are coming over and joining us. 291 already in here. Whoa, we just jumped into the 300s.
Wow, what's happening?
All right, so let's just get a couple things out of the way right now while Kev gets the live stream up. I don't know if he's started his commitment process yet or not. It's supposed to start at 9:30. We got a couple of things going on. First, Trey Rowland is going to be dropping tomorrow. Brendan, correct me if I'm wrong. Trey is going to be dropping an very special interview with the one and the only offensive coordinator from Florida State University, Alex Atkins. Yes, that is right. Trey got the opportunity to sit down and speak with Alex Atkins today, and it will be dropping tomorrow. So that's obviously big time to go ahead and get an opportunity to see and listen to. If you are not a subscriber to the Knowles 24/7 YouTube channel or the X's and Knowles YouTube channel or the Knowles 24/7 website, please make sure you stop everything you're doing right now and go do that. And then when you're done doing that, like this freaking video, because when you hit that little thumbs up button, it lets us get out to more and more Knoll fans. And hey, I mean, what's the matter with that? The more people we reach, I think the better off everybody is. So, I mean, since Kev and I have joined Knowles 24/7, this team's 3-0. Correlation? I don't know.
You had to break the Brendan joining Knowles 24/7 jinx. I joined in 2016. Everything was great before then. I was covering FSU for the Orlando Sentinel from 2013 to 2015, and those were bright, shiny times. So you guys broke the curse, seemingly. Let's see.
All right, do we have a link? We need a link. Let me
from YouTube? This currently to the board, so our subscribers at Knowles 24/7 can jump on in.
I got you, Kev. We're going to get that for you, folks. CBS.
Yeah, let's get a link. So how are you guys? Brendan, how are you feeling about the recruiting trail? I know there was some pessimism, just in general, like taking today out of it.
So I mean, this week is an important week for Florida State with Blake Nicholson tonight, obviously, and then Hakeem Williams on Friday. I feel pretty great. Oh, I just got some breaking news, guys.
Yep, it's happening.
All right, this is official. It's happened. I was about to say I feel pretty good about Blake Nicholson. I'm gonna now say I feel phenomenally great about Blake Nicholson because the top 247 linebacker from California has announced his commitment to the Florida State Seminoles. FSU just beat Oregon. Tosh 0.0-1 versus Florida State on the recruiting trail. Shout out to Derek Ray. Shout out.
Baby, can you share the screen for me?
Yep.
There we go.
This is a big commitment, fellas. Big time for Florida State to win this one on the trail. I feel good about it, Kev. I feel good to answer your question.
You feel good.
Yes.
Let's rewind back there so we can watch and put the old hat on and everything if we can.
Yeah, he put it on
Sorry
pretty
about that,
quickly,
folks.
so he didn't make much of a
Yeah,
show out of it.
that one popped pretty quick, which I love.
I had
This wasn't the Jaden
flashbacks.
Lars would be 5-hour. I'm just going to call it a shit show because that's what that was.
It was. That was the last time they had a California kid, AB. That was my fear too. This was going to go on and on and on,
Yeah.
but I love it.
Let's
Straight to
pause and can we
business.
get the audio? Let's pause and can we get the audio for everybody?
Can you guys hear that?
I can't.
All right.
We got the visual.
We're getting the kinks worked out here because we would like to try to do the same thing for Friday. Oh, baby.
There's the hat.
Chop that shit up there, Blake. Let's go, baby.
I can
act like a fan because I am a fan right now. I can act like a fan for a couple of seconds. And then
Yeah, lean into it, guys. It's not every.
It's not
every day you get a top 247 linebacker. Blake Nicholson's the highest ranked linebacker per the 24/7 Sports rankings that Florida State has had since Dontavius Jackson in 2016. It's been a minute.
2016. That's incredible.
2016.
All right. So for those that are joining us a little bit late, yes, he has announced his commitment. Blake Nicholson, the 4-star linebacker, is committed to Florida State. He chose Florida State over Oregon. Really, this was a Brendan Sonnone victory. His crystal ball won this for Florida State. But seriously, let's talk about the process here. Randy Shannon deserves a lot of love. Derek Ray deserves a lot of love. Brendan, can you kind of break this commitment down for us a little bit?
Yeah, so let's start off with Derek Ray, FSU's general manager. He is from Northern California. I think he's from the same hometown as Blake Nicholson in North California, or at least pretty close to it. So there's some sort of relationship connection there. And obviously Derek Ray comes from Oregon State, so would have been recruiting that area. So Derek Ray's connection helps open the door for Florida State. It's a total team effort. You had Randy Shannon obviously playing a big role in that. He went out to visit Blake Nicholson not that long ago. Obviously played a big role with Blake Nicholson visiting Florida State a couple times over the offseason. And that was really why I put in that crystal ball back in August, was that we heard that Blake Nicholson was coming back when the dead period was over, that final one before the season started. And that was when it became clear that FSU was really legitimately pushing Oregon for Blake Nicholson. The fact that you were able to get him out to the East Coast a couple times, it's been explained to us that his family is very much so open to leaving the California area and exploring other places to live. So yeah, this is one that was a total team effort. The entire defensive staff really did a good job on this one. Again, Derek Ray deserves credit for opening the door. Randy Shannon, who's caught some crap and caught some strays in the last 6 months or so since he's been hired as the linebacker coach. Really, his linebackers are playing well. His recruiting board all of a sudden looks pretty damn solid with two good linebackers right now. So it's a big time win for the Seminoles.
Yeah, this is massive. They need to continue to get more athletic there. Took Omar Graham. He was the only linebacker commitment in last year's class. A very heady player, very smart, intelligent, understands the scheme, understands where to be, understands the fits. This is more of an athletic player. I think he's going to take a little bit of time. We're going to break down his film. We're going to get into the scouting report, and we're going to let Brendan talk about what he saw in his film here in a minute because Brendan will have an article. It's probably already up on Knowles 24/7. So if you want to go over there afterward, you're done with us here, check out all the coverage. I believe there is a commitment article with quotes from Blake. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yep.
So there will be an article from Brendan, a scouting report. I'm sure Zach's got all kinds of intel and Chris has some stuff up also. So when you're done with us here, get over to Knowles 24/7 and check that stuff out. But this is a big get. He's an athletic player. They need to continue. I mean, we talked about after the Louisville game how Kalen DeLoach's athleticism, even though he couldn't quite keep up with a player like Malik Cunningham, just how crucial it really was in what they're trying to do schematically. So getting a guy like Blake Nicholson in here, an athlete like him, he said what he had like 4 touchdowns the other day in his game. Plays running back for his high school. You just need athletes like this in the linebacker position in this new age of football. Brendan, why don't you talk about first what you saw on his tape, that you wrote about in your scouting report article?
You mentioned a name just a few minutes ago, AB. There, I see some shades, some elements of each other's game respectively, and that's Omar Graham Jr., who FSU had as a high-end 3-star prospect, but I thought was a little bit underrated. And the big knock on Omar was whether he could play in space. He was a really good, aggressive, explosive edge rusher, which is super evident on Blake Nicholson's highlight film. Like, you see that right off the bat. He's very balanced. He's tough to get off a spot as a pass rusher, bendy, quick feet, agile, good core strength to where he can absorb blocks. He's 6'3", 200 to 205 pounds right now, so has room to develop and grow and add more muscle. Probably needs about another 20 to 30 pounds to ultimately be effective at the Power 5 level. But what I like about him beyond Omar Graham, it makes him a higher end prospect than Omar was in my estimation, is we actually have examples at the prep level in his prep film of him playing in space. That's what I like about Blake Nicholson.
Yep.
He's super comfortable, either like defending the slot, being able to drop into coverage, going sideline to sideline. But then the running back element you mentioned, AB, like he was a 2,000-yard rusher as a junior. This season, as a senior, they're putting him at wide receiver, just letting him go win jump balls. So that ability to play in space and to defend space, you guys could probably talk about that better than I can. That seems like, as football continues to evolve with the RPO game and spread stuff, you got to be an athlete at linebacker now. Blake Nicholson is an athlete. Yeah,
so we've got the film up here, so we can go ahead and take a look at kind of what Brendan was saying about his athleticism. So this is his junior film. So this is a year ago, but it's probably the most comprehensive one we have at the
For
moment.
those of you asking in the chat, yes, he has committed. He selected FSU, so he is a Nole.
He committed very quickly in the process. We weren't prepared for it to be that fast.
Yeah, we were not. Yeah, so they're playing.
Go ahead.
Yeah, they're playing a lot of what looks like 3-4. So this was 3-4. He's kind of playing that outside linebacker role. And this should kind of look familiar because if you watch Florida State's last game, they asked Kalen DeLoach to kind of run the field and kind of spy Malik Cunningham. And more of these linebackers aren't these guys that are just slimmer defensive tackles filling gaps. These guys increasingly have to be almost defensive backs running the field, keeping up with these mobile quarterbacks. It's a game. It's a speed game. And so I think you see a lot of that in this film.
He suplexes the guy. That's the cut I was looking for. That's fantastic.
Immediate suplex.
Yeah, right off the bat. Look at he still gets the interception here. Wow.
Yeah, you see the straight line speed. So that's not a question. You know, he's a running back, so you naturally assume he's got that.
Good power.
Really good with his hand. Really good with the hands. Yeah, exactly.
I do think that there's some projection here because you don't see him stacked a lot, and that does give you a level of concern because at the next level he's going to be a stacked linebacker. So you wonder how he's going to handle that aspect, being in the box more, off the ball. But moly, look at him run! Come on,
he's an athlete.
Yeah, he's a freak show. They need more of that in the program. This is the caliber of athlete they've been missing when they've been recruiting the high school level lately. And to get a player like that, now that's a nice little move. They're working a little twist game with him there. You see him work inside. You like to see that, but you're not seeing a ton of reading and reacting. So I think that part of his game is going to take a little bit of time to develop. But Randy Shannon's proven he can develop that out of these guys. You see how he's helped Kalen DeLoach. He's helping Omar Graham. Tatum Bethune was a Randy Shannon guy going back to his time before coming to Florida State, and then what they've done here at Florida State. So you like what they're going to be able to do. This is a good raw athlete that they're getting in here that they can stack. He's probably a Mike, probably going to play what DeLoach plays, and get him coached up.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think the concern is the only concern you have with him. I mean, clearly we can sit here and we can gush about his athleticism. It pops off the screen. Yeah, the only concern is transitioning from this kind of 3-4 defensive end hybrid linebacker to a stacked linebacker, like you're saying. Is a transition that like someone like Amari Gaynor is still kind of going through and trying to learn from. So it is not an easy transition, but when you have natural tools and athleticism, it makes getting on the field and learning from those things a lot easier.
Yeah, and you see the power. So that's some of the stuff that you start losing some concern over. Sometimes when you see these guys playing outside, the instincts are going to be one thing, but seeing the power, seeing the athleticism,
seeing the hips, he's got decent hips for a straight pass rusher.
Can you rewind it to the play right before this one, Kev? Is that so? This play where he's like, it's in motion. So now it'll be the next play coming up after this one. Okay. But I love how fluid he changes direction. It's almost by accident that it happens. But boop, watch that step.
Yeah, foot in the dirt.
Yep, that's just
he's aware enough. He's aware enough to jump and bat the ball down. He doesn't go for the big hit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get the sense of what kind of football player he is, and that translates. I mean, I don't care where you're going to put him. He's going to find a way to be successful.
This is the defensive film too. Like, there's 2,000-yard rusher film that we're not watching. When you talk about a football player, that's well put, Av. That he is a football player.
But yeah, I mean, you can see by his fluidness and his build that. I mean, at a big school in like Atlanta or Miami, you could see a kid his size and athleticism playing safety. So he's lined up at defensive end, but you can just see the athleticism on him.
I think that is one aspect. So I mean, we're obviously all very high on this take. He's ranked, I think, 150 something by 24/7 Sports, lower in the 245, 250 range in the composite. I'm not sure who's that much lower to be evening that out if we're in the 150s for him to be in the 250 range. But I think we all like him, like what he presents upside wise. The two knocks on him right now are, oh my God, someone's joining us right now.
Is that?
Oh, by God!
My God! That's Chris Nee's music.
What's up, gentlemen?
Welcome, Chris.
Welcome. Get in here, big man. Give us your thoughts.
I'm a big old fan of Blake Nicholson. I mean, heck, it's the name I've used for this evening. But he's a tough kid. He's a hard-nosed kid. He plays both ways. He's effective both ways. I think he's an every down linebacker. I thought it was interesting. Biggins compared him to a guy who can be essentially a linebacker playing safety. I don't think that's a slight as much as I think that's a compliment in the sense of how they compared him to Asa at Washington and his versatility. I think Blake brings a whole lot to the table. I've loved the senior film. I like the junior film, but I've loved the senior film through 4 or 5 games that we've seen. I'm a big old fan. It's an excellent get for FSU. It's a position where they've under-recruited for several years. For every guy like Kalen DeLoach has now panned out and turned into something effective, they've had more guys that just didn't turn into what we hoped they would be when they were recruited. I think Blake is a guy that's a pretty high ceiling and a pretty high floor.
Here he is at wide receiver. You see, just this fluidness.
Yeah.
And that's senior. This is the senior film Kev is showing that Chris is alluding to. The senior film, like I'm right with Chris. I liked his junior film. I thought it was solid. The senior film's like, oh, that's why he's a top 150 prospect.
Oh yeah, here he is playing safety, literally, nickel corner kind of deal.
So easy.
Breaking on a route.
For those late coming in here, yes, he did choose FSU.
And something to add is when Biggins and Huffman are talking about West Coast guys, and we can attest to this because we've dealt with them a lot, and we're always going to miss some. We're always going to get some right. That's just a natural order of evaluating kids and how it works. But Huffman and Biggins have done this a long, long time, and they both really like this kid. They're ahead of the industry in the sense of where they value this kid and what they think of him. That's why our company ranks them as highly as they do. And I just think both of those guys are very effective at their job, very good at doing their job, and they've done it a long time and seen a boatload of kids. So there's a whole lot of comparisons that they can make, a whole lot of knowledge that they can base it on, and they're kind of, I think they're ahead on Blake. There's a reason we have him in the All-American Bowl and a reason he's in the Poly Bowl, both games that we have influence on.
In the scouting community, I mean, he checks a lot of the boxes, not to go all Chris Nee here and check boxes, but he does. He's athletic. He's got a great frame. He's very physical. He shows power. He's got good hips. I mean, he does a lot of he's got a lot of stuff you're looking for when you're looking for a football player. It's Florida State's job to get him on campus, get him in the right position, get him developed. But for the tools that he's bringing and the body style that he's bringing, it's everything that you need out of a football player to be successful. So it makes sense that these guys that have been watching a lot of prospects over the years look at him and say, there's a successful football player in there. Florida State's got to get it out of him.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead, Kev. Sorry.
I think when you're looking at this tape, you see a 4-star defensive end as a junior. You see a 4-star safety as a senior. You see maybe a 3-star wide receiver and running back. You see consistently that this staff is not evaluating based off stars, but evaluating based off of these kids being football players. I mean, how many times have we seen two-way players be high on this staff? And it's kind of shown with their relatively high hit rate. I mean, how many transfers and freshmen have these guys evaluated that were 3 stars or whatever come in and immediately impress? And I think this guy is the epitome of kind of that process. Well, now he's not a 3-star. He's someone that clearly has 4-star talent, but has all those intangibles that you loved out of those 3 stars that have shined early in their Florida State careers.
Yeah, and FSU has a lot of hands-on knowledge with him because of Derek Ray. He's from Derek Ray's hometown. Oregon State, as they referenced during the commitment broadcast, was the first Power 5 school to offer him. That offer came when Derek Ray worked at Oregon State. Derek Ray's obviously now the GM at Florida State. So it's one of those where it's not like we're just recruiting a kid because he's ranked highly and we think something. It's got a lot of knowledge base that they've done their own personal work on that they like. And Randy Shannon went out there and made an effort and recruited him and built a relationship with him. Derek Ray led this charge, but Randy Shannon did his part as his future position coach. They both deserve compliments for what they did, and the whole staff recruits. I mean, when he comes on campus, Adam Fuller, Mike Norvell, they're involved with it just as much as anybody else, and they do a great job with kids, kind of hosting them, making them feel at home. And he referenced that. He said, in 2 visits to FSU, it felt like home for him, and he just felt like the coaches were real, 100% straight with him, and I think they were. They had to combat some negative recruiting from the Oregon side in this one, and I think they did a good job of that. They were able to lure a kid across the country, even if his parents are moving across the country, which is certainly a possibility in this case, kind of like A.J. Duffy's family did as well. Even if that's in place, still the fact that they were able to take him 3,000 miles away at this point in his high school career when they do live out there, it's significant.
When Oregon
let's
wanted
stay on
him.
that. Let's stay on that topic, though. They're 3-0 right now as a football team. How vital is that to luring a kid all the way across country from California? You talked about the negative recruiting from Oregon. If they're 1-2 right now, that negative recruiting probably is really sinking in, don't you think?
Yeah, certainly. And, 3-0 is a beautiful thing in the sense that it lends itself to job security, which is something that people would throw out there if they weren't 3-0. If they were 1-2, it certainly would feel a lot different. I think that Blake had a good idea. It was FSU during his last visit here on campus, just from watching that transpire to some degree, from discussing it with him. I think he was fairly confident in that. I know he took the Oregon visit here this past weekend with his girlfriend. I think that was sort of a kind gesture to a school that did make a good recruiting effort with him. It was always Oregon if it wasn't FSU. UCLA was kind of throw in there. But no, I think FSU had done a really, really good job with Blake, and that he exited the summer knowing it. I know he took, all of August and well into September to reach this point of making the announcement. But I would say FSU has been clearly the pace car in this thing for the last 7 to 8 weeks. Yeah.
I think this is a good point that's being brought up here by Keith Gordon. So I'm just going to mention it real quick. Dylan Gibbons, and if you guys want to touch more on what exactly this is, because was up on our site on Knowles 24/7. Dylan Gibbons is up for a service award, and people can go vote for him. Do we know where they can go vote for him?
I put the release up from FSU. I believe it was yesterday. It's for the Africa team. He's one of the 11 guys on it. So it should be in that. I believe it's linked in that. There's also somebody that's mentioned it on the message board. I think they put the direct link right there. Okay. I'll bump that back up on the message board.
So make sure you guys, if you're over on the website on Knowles 24/7, look for that. Go vote for Dylan, because, I mean, really, what he does with his outreach is incredible, and he deserves kind of all the votes that he can get. Any other things to touch on with Blake Nicholson? Anything else that needs to be said that hasn't been said already?
I think we've talked about his positives, what we really like about him. Let's just talk about, I guess, the things we're looking for him to improve, or what's going to need a little bit of work or time for him. I guess I'll start off with he's 205 pounds right now. Probably need an extra 20 to 25 pounds before he can effectively play at the college level.
Yeah, I think he's got to prove it that he can play in the box. I mean, he's got to prove he can be a stack backer. I mean, that's what they're going to look for him to be. He's got to prove some of that read and react, but I think what's nice is you're not necessarily going to be asking him to come in and play day one, so he'll have that opportunity to develop.
What else? What do you got, Kev?
I think I'm super excited about his coverage. I think when we watched Omar Graham, that was the concern, and a lot of linebackers, that's the concern, is how well are they going to do in coverage, because in the college game they're going to be schemed against and going to be put in coverage against running backs. He shows that. I mean, that senior film, he's literally playing nickel corner, and he's out there and he's busting slant routes. So I think that's encouraging, but I 100% agree with AB. It is a different skill set to be able to sit in a box, read offensive linemen, read defensive linemen, and find the gap and fill it. And really his ceiling is going to be determined almost exclusively at how quickly he can develop that trait.
In a spread happy league, he's a good kid that fits what a lot of schools do.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Yep. Amen.
And the fact he's played running back so much, I love that. I love guys that play two ways, because I just think it brings out a toughness in them. But in his case, I think the running back experience helps him be a better linebacker, because so often you're going to get schemed up against a running back or a tight end, maybe a slot receiver. But, having that both sides knowledge, I think is important.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. It lends itself to success on either side. All right, we're going to get out of here in a minute or two. There's a big one coming Friday. I think it would behoove us to at least touch on it before we get out of here. Hakeem Williams, 5-star wide receiver. In my opinion, he's the best wide receiver in the country. Based on all the guys I've seen, I know what Malachi Nelson, or I can't think of the young man who's rated number 1 overall. I think Williams is, with that size and speed potential. I think he's just an absolute freak. He's committing Friday. We maybe are going to do something like this again. That's kind of in the talks anyway. What time does he commit at? 2:30?
2:30 p.m. around roughly, and that'll be on CBS Sports HQ as well. So there'll be a commitment ceremony, much like this one. And if we're able to do a watch
for our
party
timing
for
wise,
that as well.
with our lives, it's kind of a weird time in the day to have something. So there's some hopes that we'll be able to do something like this again. We'll put that on the boards if we are able to. What's the chatter that's out there? There's been, I know Steve Wilfong put some stuff up on Knowles 24/7 a day.
Ivans just did as well.
Yeah, I was going to say Andrew Ivans put something up recently. Yeah. What's the latest there?
Ivans went to Stranahan High School to catch up with the Hakeem today, and that is up on Knowles 24/7. I'm scrolling through it now because he just posted it like 50 minutes ago.
We don't want to give it all away, but bits and pieces if we can.
I think so. I said this on OTB yesterday, 2 days ago, that I think the big development was that he was at Texas A&M for the Miami game this past weekend, and I'm confident in reporting that he left Texas A&M without silently committing. There was nothing. A&M was not able to close while he was there, and I think that's really big for Florida State, because I think Florida State was the favorite for Hakeem Williams at the end of the summer. I thought it was the favorite for Hakeem Williams after the LSU game, definitely. And then the fact you're able to weather the storm of him going to Pitt and that being a loss, and then him going to A&M and the start they've had to this season. Right now, guys, I no crystal balls. I think Florida State's in a really good spot for Hakeem Williams with a couple of days left before this all shakes out.
I will say that FSU has done the best job recruiting Hakeem Williams, and the fact that FSU's had a vertical passing game that's been consistently effective through 3 games this year is huge.
We can all agree.
So you're telling me.
Go ahead, Kev.
Kev's going to make a Tate Rodemaker joke.
You're telling me Tate Rodemaker's landing, Hakeem?
Hey. Jordan did some too, buddy. Don't forget about Jordan.
Listen, there is something to be said that it's like, because Jordan, he has 1 more year of eligibility left, but it's been well documented, reported that I think he would like for this to be his last year. The fact that Tate Rodemaker was able to look beyond adequate, actually really good for the second half against Louisville, that doesn't hurt at all to be like, oh, this guy might have something in the tank. I don't think that hurts. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but
it was asked, do we know if Blake Nicholson is intending to enroll early?
I believe the answer is yes. I will double check with him to be sure. We'll do an update here as the class continues to fill out of who we expect in December. The truth is, nowadays it's most of them.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
And to add one more thing with Blake Nicholson, and this applies to Hakeem Williams as well. Both of those recruitments, regardless of what happens for Hakeem on Friday and with what happened with Blake today, Oregon's going to continue to probably be persistent for Blake Nicholson. I think Florida State knows that they can't let their foot off the gas with Blake. So just because today's a great day, Friday might be a good day for Florida State. We'll see. For both of those guys, you're going to have to continue to play well during the season. You're going to have to close strong. I would imagine NIL is going to be a factor in recruitment for prospects like that. So Rising Spear is 75% off, I think, currently. We don't get
I think
paid
it was.
to promote them
I think that actually was only for the weekend.
you know what? If Hakeem Williams pops, you might want to do another flash sale, boys. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
But it'll be a battle for both those guys until the bitter end, no matter what happens.
Yep. We're not paid by Rising Spear, but if you get an opportunity to, or you come in a little money and want to be generous, get over to Rising Spear and give that away, because it's going to be needed here down the stretch as Brown Jacket Jimbo decides to push all in on Hakeem Williams.
So,
all right,
real quick on the two recruitments. It's a good example of FSU understanding where they can battle and knowing when to pull the plug. And they've done a very good job in both of these. They've known all throughout what it would take to get Hakeem. They've positioned themselves very, very well for that. And with Blake, you think you're recruiting a kid 3,000 miles away. There's a school recruiting them just down the road in Oregon. A lot of people would shy away from that. FSU understood they could be in that till the end, and they won it out in the end. I just think it kind of speaks to they're pretty good at being. I know they've been caught at times at the end with things not going their way, but in general, they are very aware of how they recruit, and they're good at that. And I think it is a credit to them as a staff and an organization standpoint.
Yeah, well, I think that's well said. And on that note, for Brendan Sinone, for Chris Nee, the big Blake Nicholson fan, for Kevin Little, and I'm Coach AB. We're going to get out of here. What a night. Blake Nicholson, Florida State Seminole commitment, 4-star linebacker. Go Noles. Have a great one.